Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're all keeping well. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to my reaction to part 2 of the Last of Us finale. So we left off obviously with Joel and Ellie. They were in the army quarantine zone. They had just had the scene with the giraffes, or Jerry Giraffe as I call them. And we had there was the opening to the episode with Ashley Johnson making a cameo as Ellie's mother Anna, giving birth to her while fighting off an infected. So at least we got an appearance from the infected. And obviously Marlene and the Fireflies came. They took Ellie, and Anna asked Marlene to look after Ellie and bring her to the Boston quarantine zone, and just give her knife. So it was nice to see uh, Ashley using the knife, because that was always Ellie's weapon in the game. So she passed it on to Ellie. Now it's sort of passing of the torch in a way, and then we basically flash forward to Joel and Ellie, and uh, obviously Ellie was still uh, dealing with the events from the previous episode with David, and obviously having to uh, brutally kill him. And Joel's trying to talk to her, but she's like sort of zoned out, and then she spots the giraffes, and you get that great scene. So obviously we left off where they were walking through the abandoned army zone, and Joel was telling Ellie that basically the scar on his head was basically from him trying to end his life after losing Sarah, and he basically something that basically made him either not go through with it, or he said he flinched. So obviously it was basically something in a way that stopped him, and it's basically trying to tell Ellie that you can come back from these traumatic events. So as Ellie put, time heals all wounds. It's just and that is true. Obviously not everybody time is the same. It takes longer time or shorter time for each individual, but eventually those uh, those scars heal, and you come back stronger, as we've seen with Joel and hopefully with Ellie. But yep, so let's get stuck back into the episode. I'm assuming obviously you played the game. What's coming up next? uh, I'm wondering if we'll have any more infected in the rest of the episode. Obviously, we had the quick appearance at the start of the episode with the infected attacking Anna, and she killed it while at the same time giving birth. So that's one way. That's one way to be born into the world. But anyway, let's get stuck back in the episode. Hope you're enjoying, and be sure to drop a like and subscribe. That'd be very much appreciated. Let's get stuck back into the episode. Oh yeah, get that pun book right again, Ellie.
People are making apocalypse jokes like there's no tomorrow. What did the green grape say to the purple grape? Breathe, you idiot.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
Ellie! Ellie!
Fuck me, alright, but that's slightly different from the game.
Welcome to the Fireflies. Easy. Didn't know who you were.
They can maybe ask, say hello.
Poor Zoe. She wasn't hurt. Not even a scratch. I had 5 men whose only job was to protect me. I still almost got killed. How'd you do it?
Well, it wasn't a walk in the park.
It was all her.
You are the one person I never wanted to be in debt to. But I owe you. We all owe you.
Just take me to her.
She's being prepped for surgery.
What surgery?
He thinks that the cordyceps in Ellie has grown with her since birth.
Why is she in surgery?
It produces a kind of chemical messenger. It makes normal cordyceps think that she's cordyceps. It's why she's immune to those chemical messengers. And then we can give it to everyone. He thinks it could be a cure, Joel.
Cordyceps grows inside the brain.
It does.
And someone else?
There is no one else. We didn't tell her. We didn't cause her any fear. There won't be any pain.
No, you take me to her. You take me to her right now! Oh! Please, you don't understand.
I do. That I would save her child, I promised. So I do understand. I'm the only one who understands. I have no other choice.
I do.
Walk him out to the highway. Leave him there with his pack. Give him this.
I'm ready, Joel. I've got my controller. I'm ready.
I didn't hear anyone say stop.
Which way?
Down the stairs. The fuck are you doing? Keep walking. I said keep walking.
Where is she?
We ain't got time for this shit.
I don't have time for this.
Here we go. Bullshit, you ain't fucking surrounding me in the fucking. Guess all your bullets on any nail bombs or anything? Molotovs?
How did you get in here?
I said unhook her.
I won't let you take her.
Unhook her. Cover her arm. Fast. Turn around.
I think Joe was definitely playing that scene on easy mode. You know, straddle and survival.
No matter how many people you kill, she's gonna grow up, Joel. And then you'll die, or she'll leave. Then what? Because she lives in a broken world that you could have saved.
Maybe. But it isn't for you to decide.
Or you. She'd want to do what's right. And you know it. And still find a way.
You lost Sarah, you can't lose her.
What?
It's all right. You're with me. They were running some tests on you. And some others. Turns out there's a whole lot more like you. They've actually... They've stopped looking for a cure. Raiders attacked the hospital. I barely got you out of there. We'll find you some new ones on the way.
Marlene, okay?
You'd just come after her.
I said that when I played the game, you know.
Well, she got us close enough.
What would you do? It's a tough to say.
I wouldn't say it was her favorite thing. She wasn't a fan of the mosquitoes and such. But she was a big climber. Definitely different kids.
How so?
Well, she was a lot more, I want to say girly, and I'm not saying that you're not girly.
I'm not.
You had a killer smile. Again, not saying that you don't. But you know why I think she'd like you?
Why?
Because you're funny. Anyway, I bet you would have liked her back.
Yeah, bet I would have.
There you go.
Hey, wait. When I got bit in the mall, I wasn't on my own. My best friend was there, and she got bit too. We didn't know what to do, and she says, "You can just wait it out." And then she did. And I had to. Her name was Riley. It was Tess, and then Sam.
That's not on you.
I know.
Look, sometimes things don't work out the way we hope. You can feel like you've come to an end. You find something new to fight for. And maybe that's not what you
Swear
want.
to me. Swear to me that everything you said about the Fireflies is true.
I swear.
Okay.
Very good. Very good. Alright, so that was the final episode of Season 1 of The Last of Us. I don't know when Season 2 is going to be out or whenever they announce it, but yeah, it was a very good episode. I enjoyed the hospital scene a bit. I thought it was going to be a bit more sort of drawn out, you know, like the game where, you know, he's trying to, you know, work his way through the soldiers, you know, he's you know, taking cover and, you know, plotting his way, you know, around them, but it was just sort of like a sped through scene of, you know, him one man army going through the soldiers and then taking Ellie. I really enjoyed the episode. I would have obviously compared to the game, they did it slightly different with the Fireflies immediately finding Joel and Ellie and taking them to the hospital. Obviously, it's different from the game. There's, you know, whole different parts you have to go through. You have to go through an underground tunnel. And, you know, there's like more infected you have to deal with. There's bloaters. So I would have liked, you know, that for the final episode. You know, the runtime I think was 46 minutes. So I think you maybe could have got, you know, for the final episode, you maybe could have got an hour out of it. You know, just to have a few more scenes. You know, maybe had them, you know, fighting infected, and then the Fireflies, you know, find them, you know. But obviously, as I said, the the main focus is, you know, Joel and Ellie and their story, you know, and the effect it is the world that they're you know dealing in. So yeah, apart from that, yeah, I really enjoyed my throat's gone. I really enjoyed this episode, and you know, as you know, as I said when I played the game, you know, what would you do? You know, if you're in that position, you know, what would you do? You know, so many years of, you know, talking about a cure. You know, now there's Ellie. You know, she's infected, but she's not infected. She's, you know, immune. There's a chance for a cure, but it's going to cost her life. You know, and obviously I can see Joel's, you know, point of view, where, you know, he's looking at Ellie, you know, in a way like the daughter that he lost. You know, it's not a replacement for Sarah, but it's a connection that, you know, gives him, you know, a reason to go on. If you know, if he'd let the Fireflies, you know, go ahead and, you know, possibly, you know, it's not 100% guarantee, possibly, you know, develop a cure. You know, he's lost Ellie. Tommy has his own life. He's lost Tess. You know, there's not much left for him, you know, to live for. And I'm sure it is a selfish reason. You know, he's basically said, you know, to hell with the cure, to hell with, you know, saving humanity, what's left of it. You know, uh, you know, this little girl is all I have left. You know, I've lost everyone else. You know, she, you know, protecting her, looking after her, raising her, you know, gives me a meaning to go on. You know, so, you know, I'm gonna stop you, you know, from potentially developing this miracle cure. You know, and at the same time, you know, you can obviously see the other side of it, where, you know, as Marlene said, you know, it's not my choice, it's not your choice, it's what Ellie would want. And Ellie, you know, would probably want to do this because, you know, in her mind, you know, yes, she has Joel, but, you know, realistically, she has this power to, you know, save humanity in a way, save so many. You know, and as she was talking about, you know, Riley, you know, and as she mentioned before, you know, like, the whole journey, it can't be for nothing. You know, Riley, Tess, Sam, Henry, you know, that whole journey, you know, it has to mean something. You know, and if given the choice, Ellie probably most likely would have said, you know, do it. You know, I you know, there was a reason for me to be immune. You know, and I'm gonna use that. You know, I'm gonna, you know, give humanity this cure that it needs. But, you know, as I said, it's two sides, and, you know, it's also, it's, you can see both sides, and it is difficult. Like, I think, I think I said during the game, you know, I probably would have gone with the side of Joel, that, you know, it's not 100% guarantee that if you take this girl's life and, you know, whatever they do with the cordyceps, you know, the try to develop a cure, you know, what happens if, you know, it starts to work but fails, or it's only a temporary cure, or, you know, it doesn't work at all. You know, it's, in the same sense, all of it was for nothing. So I said at the time when I played, Joel, as selfish as it was, Joel, you know, didn't want to lose her, and, you know, he basically did what he thought was right, and he, you know, saved her and, you know, took her home to Tommy's. But, you know, let me know yourself, you know, what you think. But overall, I've fairly enjoyed this season. You know, obviously, as soon as it was announced that they were making this, I was looking forward to it. And obviously, when the cast was announced, there was a bit of you know, anger that Bella didn't look anything like Ellie. That's, you know, that's obviously because Ashley looked like Ellie because it was fucking her features, her face. But Bella did a fantastic job as Ellie, and, you know, Pedro, I think he did a great job as Joel. They did sort of I've seen a few other people mention this, and it does, in a way, compared to the game, you know, they made Joel look more vulnerable in the episode. You know, you had the episode before they met Sam and Henry, where he was saying that he couldn't hear properly, and he was, you know, getting jumped by the raider from behind, and, you know, they did sort of, compared to the game where, you know, he basically looked like he did in that final scene in the hospital. You know, he was this, you know, strong, you know, fit character, you know, who could easily win a fist fight. He could, you know, take on 2 or 3 infected at a time, but, you know, they, you know, made him more, you know, humanized and more vulnerable. This basically this older man, you know, who has basically, you know, spent the past 20 years you know, drinking, and thing. He hasn't, you know, been doing, you know, exercising, or, you know, running. His body's been breaking down. He's just been sort of doing the odd job here and there in the quarantine zone with Tess and thing. But I thought Pedro did a great job with the role, and I think he nailed it. I think, you know, could other actors have portrayed the role? Of course. But I think Pedro, I think, similar to The Mandalorian, you know, I haven't watched full episodes of The Mandalorian, but I have seen different scenes here and there. And I don't know what it is, but does Pedro just has this way of acting that he just hits the role out of the park, you know. And he did this great with Joel, the scenes with Ellie, you know, the emotional breakdown when he was talking to Tommy, and, you know, the conversation they had with Henry, and, you know, even that, the sort of the expressions and the acting for this, you know, where he was talking to Marlene, and then the how his expression changes, where he, you know, is walking away, but then, you know, he fights back, and is, this sort of determined look on his face that, you know, he's going to go through this hospital. It doesn't matter who's in his way, he's going to get to Ellie, he's going to get her out, he's going to save her, you know. And I thought it was a great job by Pedro, and obviously Bella in the last episode did a great job with the scenes with David, and overall brilliant. And overall I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the cameos from Ashley and Troy. Would have enjoyed seeing them in more episodes. Obviously it was just quick cameos for their characters, but I would like them to see them sort of reoccurring in a way. I don't know how that could have worked. You know, maybe if they had Troy as a member of the Fireflies, you know, that you've seen in the first episode, you know, or else, and then maybe seeing him again in this episode, you know, appearing again. But it was done well, and we'll see what happens in season 2. I have not played the second game, and I don't know much of what happens in the second game. All I know is that with the second game, you either love it or hate it. I know that new characters are introduced, and I know that you know, a lot of people say that if you played the first game and you love the bond between Joel and Ellie, and you love the story between them, then you should avoid the second game. So I haven't played it, but I think whenever this series was announced, like it said, you know, if you haven't played the game, watching this series will make you want to play the game. So I think I think that's exactly what I'll probably end up doing. Is I don't know when the second season will come out, but when it does come out, then I will obviously react to it, and we'll see if it makes me want to play the second game. You know, instead of as much as I enjoyed this series, having played the game, you obviously knew what to expect with most scenes. Obviously they changed it here and there to make the episodes their own. Obviously again the episode with Bill and Frank was completely changed around from the game, so that was, you know, you didn't expect that, but obviously you knew more or less what the story was, you knew what to expect. So with the second game, I think it'd be better if I wait for the second season to come out, so that I'm going in you know, blank in a way. I'm going in not knowing what to expect, you know, what new characters going to be involved, who's going to do what, you know. Obviously Joel and Ellie will be there, but is it, you know, like, is it a new story? Is their story over? Or are they going to be cameos like you know, like Tommy was? Or is Joel going to be, you know, just appearing here and there? But I think that's a better thing for me to do, instead of playing the game and then knowing exactly what's going to happen. But anyway, overall, thoroughly enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed my reactions as well, and drop a like on the video, that'd be very much appreciated. Drop a comment below what you thought of this episode overall, and what you thought of the series overall. Obviously the changes from the game, if you have played it, the different backgrounds that we got. Obviously, as I said, the episode with Bill and Frank, which I thought was very well done. It gave more backstory to their characters, and we had new characters introduced, Kathleen, and I forget what you call their second command, who voiced Tommy in the games, but we had them. And, you know, what did you think of the flow of the series? You know, as I said, I think with the there's so much story to tell. I think you definitely could have got 2 seasons out of it. I think, you know, even, you know, getting to Tommy's place could have been the end of season 1. Or if they had added more episodes, it could have been like the mid-season finale of getting to Tommy's place, and then you could have went from there, because I think there's so much story to tell. And as well, they covered the DLC in one episode, which compared to the episode itself was very well done. In the DLC, obviously there's so much more happens. The DLC is split between 2 different times, between Ellie and Riley, and Ellie and Joel, and Ellie trying to save Joel after he's been stabbed. So I think they could have expanded, and, you know, they probably, looking back, you know, maybe they would have went back and said, you know, we want more episodes, you know, but maybe because it is the first season, the just said, you know, look, we're going to give you 9, do it in 9, you know. So they said, right, okay, we'll do it. But as I said, you know, 9 episodes, they had it out of the park. You know, they got the story told. Was it rushed here and there? Possibly. You know, certain scenes were cut out. They dialed back on the infected, and basically just told the core story of Joel and Ellie, and, you know, focus on them, apart from 2 episodes, one being Bill and Frank and the other being the Left Behind story. But, you know, they held it out of the park and they did a very great job, and I can't wait to see what they do with season 2. You know, will they have more episodes for season 2? Will they stick to the 9 and say, look, we did the first game in 9 episodes, we can do the same, even 9 or 10 episodes? And, you know, what will the future be? Obviously there is only 2 games, so do they have ideas themselves on how to branch out the series beyond the game? You know, do they have original stories themselves that they could, or, you know, could they possibly wait? Is there an idea in place to make a third Last of Us game? I don't know, we'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, let me know yourself down in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. That'd be very much appreciated. You know, it helps me continue to build the channel and do more reactions to more series. So that'd be very much appreciated. Anyway, before my voice goes, I'm gonna head out of here. So I'm glad they've done a reaction to this series, and sad it's over for now, but I will be back for season 2. Anyway, take care, see you again, and when you're in the darkness, look for the light.